Before we jump into today's episode, I want to introduce you to Paragon Monsters and Mayhem, the tactical trading card game. In Paragon, you will summon deadly creatures, cast powerful spells, and use wondrous items to obtain victory. Use your creatures' attacks and special abilities to dominate the gridded battlefield. Uncontested creatures can attack your opponent directly and remove their essence, and the first player to lose all their essence is defeated and banished to the void. Paragon has a 250 plus card pool, 500 plus when you add in all the foils, alt arts, and serialized cards. The game is easy to learn, but it has many different interesting combos. With 6 domain and domainless cards, there is a lot of room to come up with your own unique play style. The tactical gameplay makes this game especially exciting, so check out the Paragon Monsters and Mayhem Kickstarter right now with the link in the description below. So the community has spoken. Many of you out there have spoken and have put the word out about where you think certain cards fall in the brand new power bracket system. If you haven't seen my episode on the power bracket system, Wizards taking over the format, and also where I think cards fall on the power bracket system, go check those out. After you watch this one, though, of course, let's jump into it. A big thank you to, I believe it's Ninja Boy 333 who put this survey together, and a lot of responses, a lot of votes. I think over 225,000 votes, I believe, with the cards. So yeah, let's jump into it to see where certain things fell. Card grades by mode. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to break this down. We'll go through it. There are a couple ways to break out the card bracket. Let's start with the simplest. Whichever bracket received the most votes in the whichever card received the most votes in the bracket, cards can be considered, i.e. the mode. I'm noting the EDH rank of the card, the ordering them numbers of votes to the bracket that they got. Again, remember this is out of 1,500. Okay, so again, with the bracket 4 being the most powerful, only 7% of the cards out of the top 100, which makes sense that then 7 cards made it into bracket 4, which I think is right around where I had. It's different cards though, but I believe I had right around that as well. Not saying that's right or wrong, but that might be what you can expect when it comes to Wizards actually putting together their own list when you look at like the top 100 and which ones actually fell in there. So first up, Dockside Extortionist, which is, again, ironic because this card is now banned. If you didn't know that, well, go check out that episode too. The third most consensus card with the third lowest standard deviation. Finally, all other low standard deviation bracket 1 cards. Okay, cool. Basically, again, this is a card that is pretty broken. It is a card that would be considered tier 4, most likely, if it wasn't banned. But it is now banned, so we can kind of skip that one. Vampiric Tutor, that is a card that, I mean, should just be put in bracket 4 because, I mean, I guess if you're guessing if this is like a, hey, I'm guessing where Wizards is going to be at with a card versus like where the community's at with it. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a bracket 4 card because Wizards already showed that this would be bracket 4. A tutor for just a single mana, put a card on top of your library at instant speed, you lose 2 life. Ouch. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. So there you go. Fierce Guardianship is next, if I could get to it on the screen. An instant for 3 mana in blue. Control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost, counter target non-creature spell. This one I believe I put in my power bracket level 4 as well. A free counter spell, countering the most important spells in Magic. And yes, I do say that because like Negate sees a lot more play than Essence Scatter. Countering a non-creature spell is a lot more relevant than countering a creature spell for the most part. So being able to just counter something for free is pretty crazy, and it's a card that, yeah, I'm not surprised to see it up in Power Bracket 4. Next up, Demonic Tutor. I believe I put this one up in Power Bracket 4 as well. A sorcery for 2 mana, search library for a card with that card in your hand, then shuffle your library. It's an absurdly efficient tutor. Again, it is not 1 mana, it's not instant speed like Vampiric Tutor, but it goes directly into your hand. It's basically any card in your deck plus 2 mana. That's what this is, which is pretty crazy. Next up, they've got Rhystic Study, which I believe I put in power level 3, actually. But yeah, I can see an argument for it being 4. Enchantment for 3 mana in blue. When your opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card until player pays 1. It's an absurd 1-card draw engine for you that also just annoys the entire table while it's going. So it's interesting to see, again, like a combination of, like, is Rhystic Study as powerful as, say, Vampiric Tutor? I would argue no, but, like, yeah, I can see why it's up here. And also there is kind of, like, I think the salt factor of a card does contribute in some way to, like, this going up in the power rankings. Next up, Deflecting Swat. I think I also had this one in 3, but I could be convinced for 4 as well. An instant for 3 mana in red if you control a commander. Again, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. Choose your targets for target spell or ability. I mean, this one is crazy powerful as well. Not quite Fierce Guardianship level, I would say. This is like, okay, retargeting something. That being said, it is also a counter spell in a way, meaning that if someone counters one of your spells, you can be like, deflecting swat, move the counter target of your counter spell to deflecting swat instead. So my other spell goes through. It's a crazy good card. Not really all that surprised to see this one being considered for power level 4 either. Mana Drain, I think, was also one that I put in 3 as well, but I'd definitely be convinced for it to be in 4. Instant for blue, counter target spell. If it was just that, that would be counter spell, but it's not. At the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of colorless equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Yeah, getting a lot of free mana essentially off of someone else and countering it very efficiently is pretty crazy. Yeah, so this is the apparently bracket 4, 7% of cards that fit in there. Again, Dockside, Vampiric Tutor, Fierce Guardianship, Demonic Tutor, Rhystic Study, Deflecting Swat, Mana Drain. I'm not against any of those being up there, and it's definitely, again, I mean, mine's only one opinion versus, a lot of opinions that put this together, essentially. So I would, say that, I think Wizards is probably going to be more in line with these than they maybe are for mine, but I could be wrong, so we shall see. Honestly, a lot of cards I'd expect here. Unconditional Tutors, the free commander protection spells, one of the more obnoxious value engines out there, and the most powerful non-free counterspell in a banned card. There you go. Okay, bracket 3, 11% of the cards out of the top 100 made it into bracket 3. Let's start things off with Cyclonic Rift. This one, I think I also had in 3 as well. Instant for 2 mana in blue. Bounce target non-land permanent you don't control back to its owner's hand. You can also overload it. Yeah, that's why it's a crazy powerful card. This is instant speed, 7 mana, bounce everything you don't have, and your opponents just are like, oh yeah, okay, our boards are reset, and you are ahead of everyone else. There's a reason why this one's up here. Next up, Smothering Tithe, and maybe this is why I more so had an Rhystic Study down in this one, as well in bracket 3 on my own rankings, because I put these two together, basically. It's not the same card, but it's basically the same thing. Smothering Tithe, the enchantment for 4 mana and white. When our opponent draws a card that player may pay 2, they never do. If the player doesn't, you create a treasure token, which everyone knows what that does nowadays, so it doesn't really need the reminder. Anyways, yeah, it's a crazy, crazy powerful effect. It is something that is obnoxious, and it is something that is just going to put you way ahead of your opponents just for regular draws throughout the game, and also when they cast draw spells, or if you cast a wheel, you just win most likely because you have an absurd amount of mana. So there you go. Crazy powerful. Next up, Esper Sentinel. I think I put in 2, but definitely could be in for 3. Esper Sentinel is an artifact creature human soldier for a 1/1 for a single white mana. Where opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless the player pays X for X Esper Sentinel's power. Yeah, again, kind of like a mini Rhystic Study in a way. Kind of like a Mystic Remora-ish kind of a card, too. It's an interesting card. It's a very interesting card. It's a very powerful card. It is one that, again, is on a creature, so it's a little easier to deal with, but it is lower to the ground. I could definitely see arguments for it here. Next up, Mystical Tutor. Now, this is where I break off a little bit from the community, where I had these. Actually, I had these kind of tutors. Essentially, we'll get through the other ones as well. I had these in power bracket 4. Instant for a single blue mana, search life for an instant source card to reveal, then shuffle your life for the card on top. The difference, obviously, between this and Vampiric Tutor is that Vampiric Tutor is any card. These are more specific on what kinds of cards you have to get. That being said, it's still just a 1 mana instant, oh my goodness, go get a card, crazy powerful tutor. So yeah, I can definitely see the argument for it being not as powerful as Vampiric Tutor, so therefore it needs to be at a bracket lower. I can see that argument. Enlightened Tutor, exact same thing essentially. Instant for a single white mana. Search life for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, then shove that library and put the card on top. Again, more specific tutor. This one gives you options for artifact or enchantment. And it's interesting because the example that they gave, Wizards gave for bracket 3 was Personal Tutor, which is more like, Mystical Tutor, but it is, that one, Personal Tutor, is sorcery speed in just sorceries. Correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's what that one is. So yeah, Mystical Tutor is definitely above that, but yes, I understand community as well. It is below Vampiric, so 3 to 4 is where I believe Wizards is going to put these, of course. All right, Mystic Remora. Just talked about Esper Sentinel. This one's very similar to that. Enchantment for a single blue mana, commutative upkeep. You got to keep paying, keep this in play more and more and more. Whenever an opponent basically casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card if they don't pay 4. They're never going to pay 4. You're going to draw a lot of cards with this if you keep it around, essentially. It's really good, especially in higher competitive formats. Next up, Jessica's Will. I can't remember where exactly I put this one. I think it was 3. I'm pretty sure it was 3. So right in line with it. Sorcery for 3 mana in red. Choose one if you control a commander's cast ability. Choose both. Add red for each card in target opponent's hand. Exile the top 3 cards while play them this turn. Basically a giant ritual effect. Probably like, hey, you get 7 mana. If you play this really quickly, you get 7 mana. And also you get to, if you have your commander out in play, you get to impulse draw 3 as well. So they're a very, very, very powerful card, of course. Worldly Tutor, again, just like the other tutors as well. Instant for a single green mana. Go get a creature, show up your library, put it on top. Again, it is more specific than, again, Vampiric Tutor, but still, instant speed, 1 mana tutor, crazy powerful. This one, I definitely was in a different position than the community. And again, I saw a lot of people, like, kind of before when I was trying to, like, formulate my thoughts on all of these cards and like where things might land essentially. And Reanimate was a card that kept coming up from like other players putting it higher than I did, and it's in bracket 3. But it is one I think I put in 2 essentially. Like, and I think I barely put it in 2. Sorcery for a single black mana. Put target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield under control. You lose life, yields mana value. This is one that I struggle with because I think this is the only reanimation effect at all in any of the top 100 cards. So it's like unlike anything else in the top 100. It is obviously the best out of all those. A single mana to get any creature out of any graveyard. Sure, you lose life. Who cares? It's commander. If you got 40 life, use it. Yeah, it's a crazy powerful card. Is it near any of the other cards we've talked about so far? I don't think so. So I think I put it in 2. That being said, the community believes it's in 3. You know, they might be right. They're probably right compared to I am. Again, I'm only one opinion. The community has many opinions. Teferi's Protection. Again, I believe I put this one in 2. I could definitely be convinced for it to be 3 as well. Maybe I had in 3 though. I don't know. Instant for 3 mana in white. Until your next turn, your life total can't change. You gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Exile it. Basically, I'm not here. You're all here. So it's a way to save your board, save yourself, save everything. And then finally, Farewell. This one is a giant jump because this one is one that I went back and forth on whether this should be in bracket 2 or bracket 1. And definitely not bracket 3. This is a card that I believe is kind of like higher on the salt factor, and that's why it bumps it up. It's a sorcery for 6 mana in white. Choose 1 or more. Exile artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. This is in the same bracket as Cyclonic Rift, and it's nowhere near as powerful as Cyclonic Rift. So, like, it is one that I will push back on and say, like, I disagree with this one being in bracket 3. I think it should at the very most be in bracket 2. You can convince me for 2. You'll never convince me it should be in 3. I understand it can be a salt-inducing card because it is a very one-sided board wipe. It's still sorcery speed at 6 mana. So yeah, I do think that this one I will argue with the community on and say, I don't know about that one, okay? Like, yeah, you can have Reanimate up here, but you can't have Farewell. We shall see. So, yeah, this is one that it's interesting. Again, 11% of the cards made it to bracket 3, though, out of the top 100. Here, we will still see some more powerful, very efficient cards, more value engines, more limited tutors, and power protection reanimation wipes. There you go. Bracket number 2, 7%. So interesting that, again, I believe when I did mine, I had, like, around the same in 4 and 3, and then a bigger amount in 2 before we got to 1. But yeah, it looks like the community has 7%. So again, like the exact same amount apparently as they had in 4, the AM2. Windfall is in there, which I think, I don't remember. Did I have that in 1 even? I might have had it just in 1. It is either 1 or 2. Sorcery for 3 mana in blue. Each player discards their hand, then draws cards equal the greatest number of cards the player discard this way. It's a powerful card. Again, I think this is another one of those cards that's like, the salt factor, I think, needs to be taken into account, or is taken into account with the community, and maybe certain players, and maybe the Wizards will actually take into account, like, the salt factor of certain cards, like they did with, like, the stacks pieces, it seemed like that, like, with, like, Draenith Magistrate and whatnot, like, they have, like, that as an example in bracket 3, or, like, Armageddon, like, land destruction, like, that's salt, that's pure salt. Like, Windfall, I don't think it is, like, power level wise a bracket 2 card. Yeah, there's some powerful things you can do with wheels, but it's not like just an inherently powerful card compared to other things that could be in this tier. That being said, yeah, the salt factor is probably taken into account because wheels can be a very divisive topic. Heroic Intervention, it's a very good protection spell. Instant for 2 mana in green. Permanent you control, getting hexproof and indestructible turn. I believe I had this in bracket 2. I could be wrong on that. Let me know how wrong I am on all these in the comments below. But yeah, being able to save all your things in any situation, not any, most situations. If you've got someone's like, put things on the bottom of the library, or, you know, just bounce. I don't even know. Like exile everything. There you go. That would get rid of it too. So I guess Farewell gets around this as well. Maybe that's why. Regardless, being able to just save all your things in the vast majority of circumstances for 2 mana, that is huge. That is a huge, huge thing. Toxic Deluge. Again, I think I just kind of underestimated. Either underestimated or just I'm undervaluing board wipes when it comes to this. Like just board wipes in removal, because like Swords to Plowshares, they put it bracket 1 as one of their examples. I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, yeah, all board wipes essentially outside of like Cyclonic Rift, in my opinion, would be 1 as well. Deluge is a very good card. Again, I was arguing between this one being a 1 or 2. It's in 2 for the community. I can definitely see that, okay? Sorcery for 3 mana in black. It's cost cast it, pay X life. All creatures get -X until end of turn. It's a low-costed board wipe that can be very one-sided. Sure, it costs life, but life is a resource you can definitely use in Commander quite a bit. Next up, Mirari's Wake. I can't remember if I put this one in 3. I definitely at least had it in 2. Enchantment for 5 mana in Selesnya. Creature control ++1. Every tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. Mana doubling is incredibly powerful. Mana tripling even more so, potentially, for a card that's outside the top 100. But still, being able to double up your mana is crazy powerful. I can see this one being a bracket 2 card. Ruinous Ultimatum. I disagree with this. But again, it is a card that, yes, it is a one-sided board wipe. That being said, it's very specific on the mana value you've got to actually get to cast this. It is sorcery speed. It is destroy all non-permanent opponent's control, so it is just Cyclonic Rift, but it's sorcery speed, and again, very, very specific mana value. I understand players putting it here because it is one-sided, kind of like how if Farewell's a 3, yeah, I can see this one being a 2, but again, with me thinking that Farewell was just even a 1, maybe a 2 at the very most. Ruinous Ultimatum, I don't think even made it in the conversation where it would be above a 1, just for me though. Next up, Dark Ritual. I can't remember if I had this one at 2 or 3. I definitely had it outside of 1, though, I believe. Instant for a single black mana. Add black to your mana pool. A crazy good ritual effect that is so low to the ground. It can really get out, Commander super early for you. Next up, I believe I had Swan Song actually in 3. I could be wrong, though. Maybe it was in 2. Instant for a single blue mana. Counter target enchantment. Instant short spells controller creates a 2/2 bluebird creature token with flying. Yeah, it's a crazy good counterspell because it's incredibly efficient at just 1 mana. And it counters very important things, and it replaces them with just a little bird. And who cares about a little bird in Commander? So there you go. So again, we went from, I believe, 7 cards in 4 down to 11 cards in 3, back down to 7 cards in 2. Here we see cards that are similar to cards in higher brackets. Strong card, velocity, protection, wipes, value engines, counters. They aren't quite as powerful. So again, I think my main kind of not issue with these, but difference is that I just don't value board wipes when it comes to, except for Cyclonic Rift, when it comes to being in any of the brackets, except for 1. Okay, moving on. Bracket 1. Everything else by default. Yeah, so again, 75% of the cards, which I think did surprise some people from the comments that I was reading, basically, that there are so many cards in bracket 1, and that's just kind of how it's going to be, I believe, with Wizards, where and not that I disagree, but if you put Swords of Plowshares in bracket 1 and Grave Titan, that's okay, most things are going to fall into that. Most things aren't the most powerful things in Magic that's whoa, you played that? I need to target you now because you did. Everything else by default is bracket 1. It makes sense. Some interesting things right here. Card with the most bracket 1 votes was Commander Sphere. That makes sense. It's also the card with most consensus, lowest standard deviation. That makes sense. It is just a bracket 1 card. The card with the least bracket 1 votes still fell in bracket 1. It's an offer you can't refuse. I agree with that. I'm pretty sure I had that at least a bracket 2. Again, a counterspell that it's a single mana, that is crazy. So yeah, it almost made it again. 608 votes for bracket 1 versus 585 for bracket 2. It almost made it there. A lot of people complain about every Grail. The tiles have been seen this separately. Yeah, I can see it being a bit annoying, but yeah, they'd all be there. People generally still put Soul Ring here with 750 total bracket 1 votes. Notably, though, it received bracket 4 votes as well. So again, this is one that, again, in my opinion, Wizards have already said, it is bracket 0. They made, a separate category for it because they basically had to. Because if they're going to put it in precons, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, your precon has a level 4 card in it. It's a 4. They can't have that, and they're going to keep putting Soul Ring in everything, and they're never going to ban it, even though I think it should be banned. But yes, Soul Ring is, it is a power level 4 card, in my opinion. Maybe you could even argue for it being 3, but it's power level 4 in my opinion. But, yeah, they're going to put in bracket 0. So I think people are just voting 1 because, they're trying to put it the lowest, okay? Another way for them to go through this, though, card grades by average plus mode. The next way to look at these grades is to take the average grades. This makes breaking things into tiers a bit harder. Yes, I can definitely see that. There is no card that is universal 4. 10 people still graded Docksided a 1, for example, which is kind of crazy. But we can still get an approximate bracket system that frankly lines up pretty well with the buy mode methodology. This would mostly point to cards that could go either way, up or down. And maybe we had Dockside at a 1 for a couple players because they're like, well, it's banned, so like it doesn't matter, like whatever. Okay. So bracket 4, which is 3.5 plus average to 4 by mode. These cards unequivocally are the highest power things to do in EDH. Number 1, Dockside Extortionist. And this is like the average thing right there. So that's nice. 3.87. My goodness, that's quite high. Okay. So there we go. Vampiric Tutor, we already went through that one as well. Demonic Tutor, as well as Fierce Guardianship. I can agree with those cards, like at the tippy top out of everything. Like those are the cards. It's like, yeah, that's a power level 4. It's hard to argue against anything, outside of that, basically. Okay. Next up, we've got our next bracket, 3.5, which is around 3.5 apparently, by 4 by mode. Rhystic Study, again, this is one that I do think it's bumped up there because of the Salt score as well, but maybe that's just me. Mana Drain, a very good counterspell, obviously, and Deflecting Swat, which is not quite Fierce Guardianship, but still a pretty unfair-ish spell. Many see it as that, I should say. Moving on, we've got the bracket 3, which is right around 3 to about 3.49, 3 by mode. There you go. We've got Mystical Tutor. So this is where I think you'll see, obviously, some of those tutors that I did bump up to that bracket level 4, just because, yeah, it's specific, but it's definitely better than a Personal Tutor, which was their example for our bracket 3. So there you go. We've got Smothering Tithe, again, kind of in that same-ish, like not quite Touristic Study level, but around there. Line Tutor, yet another tutor, of course. Jessica's Will, crazy ritual effect / some card advantage, temporary card advantage. Worldly Tutor, again, yet another crazy tutor. And then also in this, though, is Cyclonic Rift. So again, you can see like these kind of being grouped similarly, which is quite interesting. That Cyclonic Rift, like where it was a 3 by mode, but it is grouped with these other ones that are up there as well. I mean, I guess the other ones are too, but yeah, it's there as well, which is kind of interesting. Okay, bracket 2.5, 3 by mode. We go down to Mystic Remora, which is right there as well. Again, I think we're probably going to see Esper Sentinel in here. Yeah, we do. Teferi's Protection, Esper Sentinel, again, yet another great card draw engine. Reanimate, I think, is crazy interesting that we see that up here, as well as Farewell again. Like, these two cards, I mean, especially Farewell, I don't necessarily see as up here, but again, the Salt-inducing factor might be kind of up there just because it is a very good board wipe. I agree, but yeah, it's just interesting to see it this high up here. Bracket 2, 2 by mode plus Soul Ring for some reason. There we go. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual, he has a crazy good ritual effect very early on in the game. Soul Ring, yeah, which again is kind of a weird one that like shouldn't be on this list. Really should just be bracket 0, but again, I can see why they're like grade everything, including Dockside, Soul Ring, whatever. I think I named grade Dockside in mine. I'm pretty sure I just put Soul Ring like in a separate bracket. Toxic Deluge, again, is in here as well. Windfall in here too. Swan Song, again, I think that should be much higher, but that's just me. Heroic Intervention, great to protect your board. Ruinous Ultimatum, don't know if I agree with that being in here. Morari's Wake, as well as an interesting one. Again, a mana doubler, so there you go. Card grades by category. Some interesting notes in here as well. Something I did was tag each card as being a mana, rock, dork, ramp, card velocity, etc. to see how different categories were viewed power-wise, which I think is really cool. It's a really cool way to go about that. The average score of mana rocks is quite low. That's not surprising at all because, well, most mana rocks in there are like signets and talismans, right? And all those are like basically a 1. We noted how Soul Ring still fell in bracket 1, even the average would put in bracket 2. That'd be a good time to note actually the highest standard deviation of all cards. That makes sense because, again, players probably didn't know what to actually put, for it, because it's like, okay, well, Wizard says a 0, but it's kind of a 4, so there you go. All right, Timeless Lotus, Arcane Signet, we're pretty much up there in grade, driven not by an insignificant number of people, grading them at a 3. Interesting. All others are pretty safe. Again, all 1s. Again, all the Signets, all the Talismans are going to knock that down. Interesting to see how people graded Chromatic Lantern, Mana Vault, Moxes, Great Hench. Yeah, I would definitely interested as well. If you could break this out into even more cards to see like where those line up, it's gonna be really interesting to see like how many cards Wizards puts in this thing, because again, they said they want to have it ready by like Vegas, which I believe is the end of this month. So we shall see what happens and how many cards they get in there. Non-rock, non-dork ramp. Average score of 1.3182. There you go. All cards mode 1. Pretty virtually safe here. Obviously, Nature's Lore and 3 Visits being the two powerful drop versions. Again, like ramp and growth type cards, yeah, they're all basically at a 1, which makes sense. Note, I didn't include Tithe here because I consider that an engine. I agree. Likewise, Dark Ritual is a one-time burst versus what I think of Ramp. Yeah, Ritual effect. So there you go. Agreed. Looking at cards outside Aegis Trek Top 100, I wonder how cards like, or lands like Nykthos or Cabal Coffers would be created, or Gaia's Cradle. Yeah, I agree with that. My goodness, Gaia's Cradle. Probably there at a 4. Nykthos, Cabal Coffers, maybe, in my opinion, would be a 2. I could be wrong. I've been wrong on many of these, apparently. not too many, I guess, but there's some I definitely disagree with. 1-to-1 removal. Average score of 1.34, all cards mode 1. Again, pretty virtually safe here, at least for the most played removal. People seem to realize 1-to-1 removal is inherently card disadvantage in multiplayer. Seth is highest ranked, followed by Swords of Plowshares. Yeah, again, if Swords of Plowshares is a 1 that basically makes other like 1-spot removal cards into a 1, basically, because Swords of Plowshares is one of the best. Curious to see how Beseiju Otawara would be graded. Same for Fracture Identity, Free, Spell, Deadly, Rollick, Crows and Grip, Dark Sealed Mutation. Interesting. I agree. It'd be interesting to see where those land. I would assume that all the other ones, would be, I just say 1. Beseiju, Otawara, maybe a 2. Because, like, lands are a bit different. Just, like, you're not really taking up a spot in your deck, and it's a very good card. We shall see. Mana Dorks. Yep. Again, average score of 1.35. All card modes 1. Here, there's a pretty clear demarcation between dorks that give multiple colors, both hierarchs and birds. They only give 1. Still pretty safe overall. Again, they're all going to be basically a 1, though, in my opinion. Yeah, it's sure, it's quick ramp, but like, it's quick ramp that is easily dealt with. There you go. Curious to see how cards like Light Halfling, Bloom Tender, Sanctum Weaver would fall. I think they'd all still be a 1, but it'd be interesting to see where those end up. Card velocity, average score of 1.76. These standout cards here are Jessica's Will and Windfall. Other card velocity generally are one-time bursts that don't seem abusable and are considered 1s. Interesting. Again, yeah, I agree with Jessica's Will being up there. Windfall, again, like, I just think that one's more so like the salt factor of it can be up there too. It's a powerful card, yes, but like, I mean, you can't really just put every wheel up there, but maybe they can. Okay. Miscellaneous, average score of 1.82. These cards got a lot of different things that I couldn't really categorize. I put Dockside here, bringing the average up. Otherwise, it would have been 1.52. Interesting. Recursion, again, there's only 3 cards. Okay, I guess, I mean, it comes to that, I guess Eerie Ultimatum wasn't there, which is kind of interesting. So there you go. I was wrong about the reanimation. But yeah, reanimate, there's only 1, so that would bring up the score. Eerie Ultimatum, that does reanimate. Eternal Witness's Recursion, so a very small sample size. I agree with Eerie Ultimatum being a 1, Eternal Witness being 1. Reanimate, maybe a 2 in my opinion, but that's okay. Wipes, average score of 1.97. Again, this surprised me. Cyclonic Rift, I agree with it being up there. For Farewell, though, also up there. Toxic Deluge up there. Ruthless Ultimatum up there. It brings average up. Other wipes are considered a 1. Again, I think most wipes would be considered a 1, but again, I could be wrong here. Breaking it down looks like maybe either super efficient wipes, Deluge only costing 3 plus life, or Farewell hitting everything, or one-sided wipes with Rift Ultimatum are the deciding factors on what would be a powerful wipe. Yeah, so there you go. Counter spells. Definitely some really powerful counter spells up in the top 100. Obviously, the more powerful ones, free or strictly better counter spells, are in 4, with hyper efficient Swan Song at 2. And again, Offer You Can't Refuse was close to being a 2 as well. So that's interesting. Again, yeah, it's interesting to see where everything kind of landed. Protection, average score of 2.24. Free protection, deflecting SWAT is enough for a 4. Yeah. Also, it's like a free counter spell anyway. Counter spell, I should say. Get Out of Jail, free protection to various protection is enough for 3. And very efficient board wipe protection, heroic intervention enough for 2. The protection that is generally accepted are 1 target protection like Greaves and Boots. Yeah, I would also put those at a 1 as well. Value engines. Yeah, this is where things are really going to jump up. 2.65. These are cards I see as defining higher power level, but not competitive. EDH, Study, Tithe, Removal, Sentinel are all 3 up here. Yeah, 3 plus up here. Absolutely. Again, I think I had all those in maybe 3 or so, or 2 or 3 in my list. But yeah, I can see with their list it being up there. Rise Wake's at a 2, while Garrick's Uprising is at a 1. I see all of these engines need help, creatures to be played, while others are self-contained, drop, and I'll do this without help. Yeah, I mean, Rise Wake, sure. I guess maybe it's because like it's mana ramp, which is different. It's interesting. Okay, non-land tutors. Yeah, this is the highest category, I guess, right? Tutors are definitely more powerful cards. Average score 3.34. These are universally had 3 plus scores, which makes sense. If EDH is about maximizing variability by playing singleton 100 cards, reducing that variability with tutors indicates a higher, more refined game plan you're trying to execute. Obviously, the unconditional cheap tutors in black are at 4. The type-specific cheap tutors, other colors down at 3. Again, I would argue that some of those should be up in 4, but that's just me. because again, between personal tutor and them, there's a big gap, and yeah, I think it should be up at a 4 for some of those, but that's just me. But yeah, I can definitely see that this average score would be absurdly high. Now, what else is interesting in this is that, well, commanders were also taken into account, the top 50, and I love that. I love that. Yuriko, just a little preview right there on the side for you. I won't go into a teacher here, but some interesting observations. In general, commanders are graded higher than the cards 99, which is interesting because, again, this is something where I don't think, and this is just me, I don't think Wizards is going to categorize commanders in these power bracket systems. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this, but I don't believe that they're going to do that, because if they do that, if you have a commander that is a 3, does that just negate whatever else is in your deck and mattering at all? And therefore your entire deck is a 3 because your commander's a 3? Or if your commander's a 4, your deck is just a 4 no matter what? Or yeah, I mean, like, literally, unless like your commander is a 1, then the rest of your, number is based on the other cards in your deck. But like, if your commander is a higher number than the rest of the cards in your deck, then that's just the power of your deck no matter what you build around that commander. So it's interesting to see that players graded commanders higher than the cards in 99, which, yeah, I mean, because I think there are certain standout commanders, but like, I think like those commanders are just like few and far between, where it's like, yeah, that's just a 4. Yeah, it's just a 4, but I could be wrong. So we shall see. Okay. Average of 2.25 versus 1.756. No commander lower than 1.58 average. Interesting. Brings into question how commanders would fit in a bracketing system. If most commanders we seen as a 2, what does that mean for your deck? Is everything a 2 by default? Will exclude commanders from bracketing? It's exactly what I'm agreeing with right there. I don't think that they're going to include commanders in bracketing, but it is interesting to see where players kind of place them. So I don't think that they're going to include commanders in the bracketing. Like, maybe they'll be like, okay, if this card is in the 99 of your deck, because obviously commanders can fit in the 99 of decks, of course. That being said, like, I don't know if they're going to bracket commanders, because players just can be like, well, that's a 4. Your Urza deck's a 4, no matter what you have in it. Even if you just like grab a bunch of artifacts and just chuck them in the deck, like Urza would be a 4, right? On the other hand, commanders who are head and shoulders the most powerful arguably can't be built at a lower power level due to their inherent power in the command zone exist. Yuriko, Urza, with Edgar Markov, Korvold, honorable mention, and we'll get to that here in a second. There you go. Yeah, so again, like, maybe they have like a separate list of like, hey, these are high-powered commanders of some sort. I don't think that they put them like into like their, neat little bracket system or whatever that's, 4 or lower. Okay. At the very least, those could serve as an interesting tool to let people know that if your commander is one of these quote-unquote high-bracket commanders, you'll probably be targeted until proven otherwise your deck is not that version of the deck. I don't disagree with that. Okay, bracket 4, mode 4. Here we go. Yuriko the Tiger Shadow is the highest, apparently, 3.35. Yeah, cheating your commander into play very cheaply, and also, ruining your opponent's life totals very quickly with high-value cards, and also getting a lot of card advantage, too. Interesting. Yeah. Urza Lord Officer, again, the card that, in my opinion, kind of like broke the mold for commanders. Like, yeah, no, we're just going to do an overpowered thing. Here you go. Also up there, 3.34 average as well. Enter as you make a construct that can get larger. All of your cards are Mock Sapphires, which is crazy. All your artifacts in play. And you can also have a mana dump to get things off the top of your deck at random and cast them for free. So yeah, not disagreeing that that's a bracket level 4. 3.5 right below that as well. Edgar Markov, every single time you play a vampire, get another one. Play very low ground ones. If you play it, then you can actually attack with it, get counters on it. It's crazy quick. Okay, Korvold, Faker's King. Hey, cool. Get a bunch of things, sacrifice them, and draw a bunch of cards. Whether that's, treasures you're sacrificing, whether it's, lands for like a hero or whatever, cool. You get to draw cards. And also grow this for whatever reason as well. So these are bracket 3.5. Moving on to bracket 3. We have Crick, son of Yawgmoth. Yeah, basically all your black mana symbols are Phyrexian black mana. Cool, congratulations, have fun with that. Kenny, the kind of toolbox, combo crazy commander. You get a lot of different abilities. You can do a lot of different crazy things. It can combo with a lot of things as well. It's a crazy powerful card. The Dragon. I don't know if I agree with that one, but there you go. Okay, Dragon. Dragons are powerful. It saves you money on dragons. Saves you money. Not money. It saves you mana. It's a $20 card. It's not saving you money on anything. Joe to the Unifier. This one is, hey, chuck a bunch of legendary creatures into a deck. They all get +X+X based on the number of legendary things you got in play. And also, whenever you play Legend, you get the Legendary Cascade for free. Lots of value to be had. Attracts the Praetor's Voice, Proliferate, and also a lot of keywords to it. Other Attracts a Grand Unifier. Also, keyword soup right there as well. ETB, get an absurd amount of card advantage based on the number of different kinds of things you have on the top of your library. Miriam Sentinel Worm, again, dragons are powerful. This one makes copies of all your dragons, including the legendaries, and it makes those copies not legendaries. So have fun with that. And then Nimizit Paragon, basically, hey, anyone casting any kind of instant sorcery, you're drawing cards, you're pinging things. It's got some combos as well. Interesting that that's bracket 3 as well. Bracket 2.5. And again, this is only taking into account the commanders that are in the top 50 currently. Kali of the Vast, basically, hey, cheat and play angels, demons, and dragons. Omnath, Logos of Creation. Get a bunch of different value when you are playing lands, whether that is life, whether that is mana, or damage. Have fun with that. Eska, God of the Tree. I mean, I think more so, although Eddie's version is very, very powerful, but yeah, most people are building around the backside of this. But yeah, cool, your legendary creatures can tap for mana, or on the backside, get things off the top of your deck at random for free. Yeah, basically creatures or planeswalkers. Have fun with that. Prosper Tomebound, interesting to see this one up there as well. Yeah, get some impulse draw and also treasures whenever you play things from exile. There you go. Bracket 2, apparently there's, we got a couple Krenko, Zul'Dok, Animar, as well as Bray and Nekosar. Yeah, there's a lot apparently in bracket 2. Krenko is just the one that I will show off with that. Down to bracket 1.5, we've got Wilhelt, which is, hey, make zombies when your zombies die. Sidar Jabari, again, Eminence, but this time it's like Night Tribal specific, so that's not nearly as powerful as like Dragons when it comes to the Dragon. And then Taste of Karlov, cool. Death triggers, double those up. Have fun with that. Oops, there we go. Have fun with that, as I said, as I did not move over that. Too long didn't read. There's also this. I already went through and read through everything, so we're not going to go through that. But I think it's just an interesting experiment to literally have the community say, okay, before Wizards puts out their version, what is your version? What do you think is power level 4? What is power level 3? Where are things going to land? And actually, do commanders belong on the list, or should that be a separate list, or like no list at all? Because again, like if you just happen to build anything, you know, again, like if the rules are the rules or whatever they are based on their bracket system, if you just build an Urza deck, is it just a 4 no matter what you have in it? I think that takes out, like, I mean, the whole bracket level system, again, I have said before, I am pretty against because it takes out like nuance, and I don't think it's gonna help. I think it's gonna try to simplify things, and I appreciate that, but I don't know if it's gonna be a good way to do it. And I think it's gonna try to simplify things too much, and there's not gonna be any nuance to it. And then you're gonna have, again, it's not taking into account synergy of cards working together. It's taking into account like the quote unquote power level of a deck based off of just individual cards. Like, just because I've got this is my example, like a Kuro Pitlord deck. Kuro Pitlord is a garbage commander, no offense. I love Kuro Pitlord, but like it's not a very powerful commander at all. And I have, like, let's say, not for me, but like, let's say someone else, because I play budget cards. But yeah, if you've got a Vampiric Tutor in there, okay, like it's just a now power level 4 deck. Or if you just have an Urza deck. Like if I've got an Urza deck, it literally has a random assortment of not good artifacts at all just chucked in there, like versus a really tuned Urza deck, both those can't be 4s. So it's going to be interesting to see where things end up again for these cards and for, yeah, the commanders as well. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on all this. Of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.